This page is the front cover of the Mr. Driller official guidebook. It's designed for the PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy Color versions of the game. The cover is bright orange and features the large Mr. Driller logo in a bubbly style. It highlights that this is the official guidebook and mentions it covers time attack strategies for all 20 stages. There's also a note about special bonus items included in the book, like Susumu Hori character stickers and a special telephone card as a present for 100 lucky people. The cover also shows the publisher information with the Namco and Shogakukan logos and some cute character artwork from the game. This page is the front cover of the Mr. Driller official guidebook. It's designed for the PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy Color versions of the game. The cover is pink this time and features the large Mr. Driller logo in a bubbly style, exactly like the previous cover, but in a different color. It highlights again that this is the official guidebook, and again mentions it covers time attack strategies for all 20 stages. It also has the same note about special bonus items included in the book, like Susumu Hori character stickers, and a special telephone card present for 100 lucky people. Just like the previous cover, it shows the publisher information with the Namco and Shogakukan logos and some cute character artwork from the game. The next page features a sheet of stickers from the Mr. Driller game. There are lots of stickers of Susumu Hori, the main character, in his red drilling suit in different poses, some holding his drill, some waving, and some just his face. You can also see stickers of Pucci, the blue dog-like character, sometimes alone and sometimes with Susumu. Some stickers show Susumu and Pucci together, riding a rocket, and in a scene with a rainbow and clouds. There are also smaller stickers showing just Susumu's head with different expressions, and some of Pucci by himself. The bottom of the page has some larger sticker designs, with different background scenes. It looks like a fun sticker sheet with lots of Mr. Driller characters. This page showcases different editions of Mr. Driller games for various consoles. It features images from the PlayStation version, showing Susumu Hori, the main character, looking happy and holding his drill, standing against a blue background with some blocks. Next to it is the Game Boy version, with a similar pose of Susumu and some of the cute Pucci characters in the background. Below, there's another image of Susumu, possibly highlighting the Dreamcast version, surrounded by a circular frame with some Japanese text and the words, Mr. Driller Susumu, #1 Driller. A large red diamond shape with Japanese text is prominently displayed, likely indicating compatibility or a key feature. The page also features the Mr. Driller logo and mentions it is an official guidebook, published by Namco and Shogakukan. It seems to be giving a visual overview of the game across different platforms. This page presents the table of contents for the Mr. Driller guidebook. It starts by listing sections covering characters and the system of the game. Then it moves into game modes, detailing arcade modes for both 500 meters and 1000 meters drilling. There's also a section on the endless mode. Next, it lists time attack modes, split into time attack 1 and time attack 2, each featuring a range of courses. Time attack 1 includes courses like Subway Course, Classical Course, Armor Course, Egypt Course, Nessie Course, Mammoth Course, Zasaurus Course, Ammonite Course, Mansion Course, and Factory Course. Time Attack 2 seems to feature back or Ura versions of these courses, like Back Subway Course, Back Classical Course, Back Armor Course, and so on. Following the game modes, there are sections on Internet mode and an interview with the developers. Finally, there's a comics section which features 4-panel manga. Below the contents, there is a story section that sets the scene. It mentions that in AD 20XX, mysterious blocks appeared from underground, causing panic. The reason for their appearance is hidden 1,000 meters underground. A young boy named Hori Susumu, called Mr. Driller, is introduced as the one who will drill to solve the mystery and save people. The next page showcases a dynamic illustration of Susumu Hori, who is also known as Driller #1. The page title, Go! Driller #1 Susumu, emphasizes him as the central figure of the game, and it's marked as page 5. This page seems to be dedicated to introducing the main character, which aligns with the characters section mentioned in the table of contents from the previous page. This page presents 2 stylized cartoon characters set against a red dotted background. The top character, colored in orange with brown dots, appears to be holding a hand to its mouth in a gesture of surprise or shyness. Below it, the second character is blue, with light blue dots and seems to be waving. A speech bubble bursts out next to the top character, prominently displaying "Driller Driller" repeated twice. This likely reinforces the game's title and theme, possibly showcasing more characters related to the Driller universe following the introduction of Susumu Hori on the previous page. The number 6 is visible at the bottom of the page, indicating it is page number 6 of the guide. This page introduces the characters for Mr. Driller. The main artwork features the iconic Mr. Driller character in 2 color variations, pink and blue, joyfully riding a red rocket. Above them, the text 2000 Millennium is displayed, possibly indicating a release time frame for this particular game. Below this artwork, there are 3 screenshots showcasing the Mr. Driller character in action on different consoles, specifically the PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. This indicates that the Mr. Driller game and its characters were available across a range of platforms. This page showcases the character Hori Susumu, who's also known as the main character Mr. Driller, or more precisely, he is described as the man closest to Mr. Driller. The page presents 2 illustrations of him, one in his iconic pink and blue drilling suit, and another in his normal boy form. The profile section reveals that he is called a Boy Pro Driller, and his hobby is discovering ancient ruins. Interestingly, his height is listed as 99.9 centimeters, and his age is said to be around 15 years old, which seems quite short for a teenager. This page features a large illustration of Hori Susumu, the Mr. Driller character, with his iconic pink drilling helmet. He's set against a rainbow-colored circular background and sparkling white stars. At the bottom right, you can see the Mr. Driller logo. The page number is clearly displayed at the bottom center as 9. This page showcases a character identified as a subterranean person with "enemy" written above the name. The main part of the page features a large, simple drawing of this blue, round character with big eyes and a small pink nose. Below this, in a profile section, is a smaller, more regal version of the same character wearing a crown and cape. The profile text describes this character as the one believed to be responsible for the appearance of large amounts of blocks in the game. It also mentions that they appear when you destroy 30 X-marked blocks in a chain. This suggests they are a special enemy that emerges under specific conditions during gameplay involving block drilling and chain reactions. This page showcases a central character that seems to be the main hero of the game, sporting a red helmet and a friendly smile. The words "Driller, Driller, Driller" are patterned around this character, emphasizing the game's title. You can also see 2 of those blue round characters from the previous page, positioned in the corners of the page. The page number is 11. It's a very bright and colorful page, typical of game guides. This page showcases a fun 4-coma manga strip featuring Susumu, the main character we saw on the previous page. This short comic is called Susume's 4-Coma Theater, and it seems to be a festive piece as it's themed around Merry Christmas. In the manga, Susumu encounters snow, initially being bothered by the cold, but quickly shifts to his usual drilling mode, determined to drill through the snow. The comic ends with a cheerful Merry Xmas message, and Susumu appearing to have created a snowman with his drilling. Below the manga strip there's a comment from Maki, who mentions this is Susumu's first 4-coma manga. It was made for a year-end magazine and is seasonally themed. Maki hopes viewers will enjoy Susumu's cuteness. We are also informed that the next manga will be on page 22. The publication information at the bottom mentions it's from the February 2000 issue of Monthly Cute Comic, published by Takaraji Masha. The next page is titled System and System Introduction. It features a large image of Susumu, the character from the previous page, and highlights the game's availability on different systems. Below the main image, there are 3 smaller images, each showcasing Susumu in a style related to a specific game console. These consoles are identified as PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. It seems this page is informing players about the different platforms where they can play the Mr. Driller game. This page is all about the game modes available in Mr. Driller across different consoles, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. For the PlayStation version, there are 5 main modes to enjoy, with Arcade mode being the core experience where you aim to reach the bottom. On the Game Boy, things are a little different, with modes called 500 meters mode and 1000 me mode. The 500 meters mode is recommended for beginners to get to grips with the digging techniques before tackling the tougher 1000 meters mode. Interestingly, The Game Boy version, while having similar controls, has a slightly different play screen with a narrower field of 7 blocks wide compared to the 9 blocks on other consoles, and the falling blocks are a bit slower too. You can see screenshots of the 500 meters mode and 1000 m mode in action on the Game Boy, showcasing the gameplay interface. In total, there are 6 game modes across all platforms, and it's worth checking out the differences between the console versions to see which modes you can play on each. The next page introduces the Tokaton Driller mode, which is designed for experienced players. This mode lets you dig endlessly with difficulty settings impacting the starting depth. Normal starts at 0 meters, hard at 1000 meters, and expert at 2000 meters. Be warned, even one mistake will result in a game over. Then there's Time Attack mode, featuring 10 courses, A to J. Initially, you can play courses A to D, and by beating the target times, you can unlock the rest. Time Attack items will help you shorten your course clear times. The game records high scores in arcade mode and digging distance in Tokaton Driller mode, with rankings shown for the top 10 players. The options menu lets you adjust the difficulty for arcade mode in 4 levels and set lives from 1 to 5. You can also access sound tests, save and load, adjust the screen position, and toggle vibration on or off. For the Dreamcast version, there's an online score competition. You can upload your scores and compete with others nationally, with rankings up to the top 100. This page is titled Basic and focuses on the fundamental gameplay of Mr. Driller. It explains that the game involves drilling blocks to dig deep underground. While the controls are simple, mastering the rules is key to reaching deeper depths, like 500 meters or 1000 meters. Step 1 introduces the core concept, matching 4 or more blocks of the same color to eliminate them, not just by drilling. You can clear blocks of various colors like red, blue, and green by grouping 4 or more of the same color in any configuration except diagonally. Chain reactions are possible, where clearing one set of blocks leads to further eliminations, but be aware that this can cause more blocks to fall from above. The page emphasizes that grouping 5 or more blocks is also fine, and even pre-arranged blocks will disappear when you simply drop new blocks to connect them. The images show examples of valid block arrangements for clearing, highlighting that vertical and horizontal alignments of 4 or more same-colored blocks will vanish. There's also a note about game overs occurring if falling blocks crush the character, encouraging players to ensure safety when causing chains. In Mr. Driller, air management and obstacles are crucial. Air depletes constantly while drilling. Air capsules replenish 20% of your air, often guarded by X-marked blocks that deplete 20% air per hit. Running out of air results in a miss. X-marked blocks are tougher brown blocks that require 5 drill hits to clear individually, but can be destroyed like other blocks by grouping 4 or more together. The game progresses through levels based on depth, with increasing difficulty. Blocks fall faster, air depletes quicker, and more X-marked blocks appear as you go deeper. Each level ends when you drill through a large block at a depth marker. A result screen displays depth, score, playtime, misses, and a star rating. The next page introduces techniques for playing Mr. Driller, aimed at both beginners and advanced players. It explains that while clearing the initial 100 meters or 200 meters is easy, reaching depths beyond 500 meters requires skill, particularly in managing air and dealing with falling blocks. The techniques shown focus on essential strategies for deeper drilling. The first technique, securing a safe route, advises against drilling straight down if blocks remain directly above, as they could fall unexpectedly. While drilling in a straight line is quicker, it's risky. The guide suggests drilling in spaces of 2 blocks or less to allow room to dodge falling blocks, enhancing safety. It mentions that drilling in a straight line can be challenging due to X-marked blocks obstructing the way. Drilling 2 spaces wide provides an escape route. The second technique, being particular about air, emphasizes the importance of air capsules. These are crucial for replenishing air, especially when drilling deeper, where they become harder to reach and might be underneath blocks. It's advised to always check your remaining air and consider detours to collect capsules if you have enough air to spare. The guide points out that collecting air capsules is not only vital for survival, but also contributes to a higher score, encouraging players to grab as many as possible. It also warns against taking excessive risks for air capsules that are too difficult to reach, as mistakes can easily happen. This page continues the Mr. Driller Techniques Guide, moving into intermediate strategies focused on creating safe paths and managing falling blocks for deeper drilling. The first technique, called Making Roofs, is about strategically placing blocks to prevent others from falling. It recommends building a roof by arranging 2 or 3 blocks of the same color horizontally above your intended path. This roof stops blocks from dropping directly on you, ensuring a safer route downwards. However, it's important not to create excessively long chains when making roofs, as the roof blocks themselves might disappear if they become part of a chain reaction of 4 or more. The second technique highlights using X-marked blocks as roofs. X-marked blocks are presented as less likely to be involved in chain reactions compared to regular blocks, making them ideal for building more durable roofs. These X-marked block roofs offer a stable and safer overhead protection as you drill downwards. Finally, the third technique, paying attention to the color of falling blocks, deals with reacting to blocks falling from above. When a block is falling, you should quickly check if there are blocks of the same color beneath it in its path. If there are, the falling block might get caught or even disappear as part of a chain, reducing the danger. If there are no matching blocks below, you'll need to drill sideways to evade the falling block and avoid getting hit. The guide emphasizes staying calm and assessing the situation when blocks are falling. This page continues the advanced techniques for Mr. Driller. The first technique is called going under air capsules. It explains that in the later stages of the 1000 meters mode, simply grabbing air capsules directly is too slow for air recovery. The ideal method is to position yourself so air capsules fall from above. The capsule falls much faster than you can drill. By strategically using X blocks in a chain reaction from above, you can create a path for capsules to drop down while progressing deeper. The second advanced technique is about utilizing the time difference of falling. When blocks are cleared by chain reaction or drilling, any blocks or air capsules on top of them will wobble for about a second before falling. This wobble creates a time gap. If you clear the bottom block while standing on blocks above, the wobble of the blocks above pauses briefly. If you quickly clear another block above during this pause, you can create a small time window, roughly 0.5 seconds, which can be useful to quickly grab air capsules or avoid obstacles in unexpected places, especially in deeper areas beyond 500 meters. This page introduces more advanced techniques for Mr. Driller players. The first one is about utilizing disappearing blocks. When you connect 4 or more blocks, they start blinking before disappearing completely. These blinking blocks, while not solid, can be cleverly used as temporary platforms to move across or even to block Susumu's pursuers. Importantly, you can't drill blinking blocks, but if new blocks connect to them while they are blinking, the blinking period gets extended. Next up is what they call the kamikaze strategy. This is a risky technique, but if Susumu crashes mid-course, the game will clear 3 blocks upwards from the point of impact. In desperate situations with critically low air, you can intentionally crash to clear blocks and potentially progress. However, it's emphasized this is a last resort for skilled players, and not something to rely on if you're still learning, especially not in endless driller mode when starting out. Finally, the page talks about forbidden techniques, things you really shouldn't do. It's about accidents that can happen while drilling. Sometimes you might find yourself surrounded by X blocks. In these situations, careful drilling is key, especially when drilling downwards as it consumes 20% air. The guide warns against panicking and blindly drilling when you're in a tight spot, even if you see air capsules nearby. Instead, it advises players to observe the entire course and drill methodically to become a better driller and avoid getting stuck in holes in the first place. This page features a 4-koma manga strip for Mr. Driller, titled 4-koma Manga Theater. The comic is themed around Valentine's Day. The first panel shows the character noticing it's Valentine's Day on a calendar marked 2/14. In the next panel, we see the same character surprised to have received a mountain of chocolates, commenting that ground dwellers really get a lot. The third panel shows the character looking longingly and saying they also want chocolate. Finally, the fourth panel shows the character surrounded by chocolate blocks. Below the manga, there's a Maki's comment section, which explains that X blocks are also called chocolate blocks. It humorously notes that while Susumu doesn't have a girlfriend yet, perhaps in the next game, Mr. Driller 2, a female character might give him chocolates. It also mentions that the next manga strip is on page 30 and gives publication details as being from Monthly Cutie Comic, published in March 2000 by Treasure. This page is focused on the arcade 1500 meters mode strategy for Mr. Driller. The main image features the classic Mr. Driller character in his red drill suit, seemingly drilling upwards through a starry sky, with a rainbow and city buildings visible in the background. Below this, you can see 3 smaller images that look like screenshots of the game in action. These smaller images are labeled with platform names: PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy, suggesting these were the consoles you could play Mr. Driller on. It seems like this page is giving tips or strategies for playing the 500 meters mode in the arcade version of Mr. Driller across these different platforms. The next page is all about the strategy for the 500 meters trial mode in arcade mode, which is recommended for beginners. It mentions that the 500 meters mode is designed to help players get used to the basic controls and techniques before moving on to more challenging modes like the 1000 meters mode. This 500 meters mode is described as having easier settings compared to the 1000 meters mode, even when playing at the same level. The page then introduces the different levels within the 500 meters mode, from level 1 to level 5. Level 1, from 0 to 100 meters deep, is a basic map with 4 block colors and lots of air capsules. Level 2, from 100 to 200 meters, often has air capsules and X blocks placed vertically and uses 3 block colors. Level 3, covering 200 to 300 meters, only uses 2 block colors, making chain reactions easier and air capsules readily available. Level 4, from 300 to 400 meters, features air capsules and X blocks that are harder to reach as they are often surrounded by other blocks and uses 4 block colors for the map. Finally, Level 5, taking place from 400 to 500 meters, has 3 block colors, and notes that both X blocks and air consumption become more significant factors. This guide focuses on the initial 0100M stage of Mr. Driller, designed for beginners. The level features frequent air capsules and less common X blocks, making it ideal for practicing basic drilling. Players should drill slowly, prioritize air capsule retrievals, and be mindful of falling blocks. The Game Boy version has 15 air capsules and air depletion at 20% every 15 seconds, a key difference. Common air capsule patterns are described. They often appear near or below X blocks. Drill horizontally beside these blocks to collect air, while being cautious of falling X blocks from above. Quickly move away from the blocks after grabbing air to avoid being crushed. Mastering these techniques is vital for surviving the deeper levels. Level 2 of Mr. Driller, from 100 to 200 meters, features 13 air capsules, 11 to 12 in the Game Boy version. Air depletion is the same as Level 1. Block falling speed may be faster. This level introduces 3 block colors, leading to more chain reactions and the increased appearance of X blocks. Be mindful of falling blocks. Avoid over-collecting air near 200 meters. The guide provides 2 strategies. Pattern A. Collect air near X blocks by drilling horizontally, then retreating quickly. Pattern B. Drop X blocks to access adjacent air capsules, unless X blocks are directly below. Level 3 in Mr. Driller, spanning 200 to 300 meters, presents 2 block colors, with 1 color forming large blocks that trigger chain reactions. PlayStation and Dreamcast versions feature 10 air capsules, depleting air by 20% every 12 seconds. The Game Boy version has 9 capsules with air depletion at 20% every 13 seconds. This level isn't significantly harder, but advises filling your air tank for the next stage. Key strategies: trigger chain reactions by drilling large blocks, create safe spots, and collect air capsules after reactions finish. Be mindful of falling blocks. The level has air capsules appearing at a rate of 1 per 9 meters, making collection easier due to minimal X blocks, but avoid collecting them under falling blocks. The focus is on patience. Wait for chain reactions to end before collecting air capsules. Level 4 of Mr. Driller, set at 300 to 400 meters, introduces increased difficulty with faster falling blocks, more frequent X blocks, and higher air consumption. Players have 8 air capsules, and air depletes by 20% every 10 seconds. Prioritizing the strategic removal of X blocks is crucial to create paths for air capsule collection and progress downward. Avoid wasteful destruction of X blocks. The level utilizes 4 block colors, limiting large chain reactions, so understanding block movement is vital. 2 air capsule recovery patterns are presented. Pattern A, with frequent air shortages and capsules often surrounded by X blocks, recommends clearing X blocks from the side. Pattern B focuses on collecting capsules surrounded by X blocks by either digging around them or strategically using other X blocks for removal. This latter approach is key for efficient air recovery. Air management becomes more critical than digging speed. This page highlights level 5, which spans 400 to 500 meters in Mr.Driller, and it's considered the final level of the trial 500 meters mode. You'll get 7 air capsules at the start, and air depletes by 20% every 9 seconds, making air management even more critical. This level tests all the techniques you've learned so far, because air becomes scarce, and there are twice as many X blocks compared to level 1, making air recovery tougher. Timing and prediction of falling blocks are essential here. Interestingly, the Game Boy version is even harder, starting with only 6 air capsules with the same 20% air depletion every 9 seconds. The page then introduces air capsule recovery patterns for this level. Pattern A describes situations where air capsules are trapped by X blocks in a U-shape. It suggests clearing X blocks from the sides to access the capsules. Pattern B is an extension of Pattern A, found in level 4, where block colors are limited to 3, making chain reactions more common. The advice here is to use chain reactions to clear X blocks and collect air capsules, especially when you're running low on air. Quick decisions and movements are key to survival. This page is a 4-panel comic strip, a 4-koma manga, featuring Susumu Hori, the main character from Mr.Driller. In the first panel, Susumu introduces himself, stating, "Hi, I'm Susumu, and my profession is a driller." The second panel shows Susumu explaining the game's premise. He says that suddenly, colored blocks appeared all over the city, and to solve this mystery, he's going underground. The third panel has Susumu interacting with a blue creature, possibly Pucci. He says, "Ah, underground person, cruel," suggesting a humorous or slightly negative interaction with this underground being. Finally, in the fourth panel, Susumu seems confused as a butterfly flitters around him, and he exclaims, "Huh? Splat new," indicating something unexpected and messy has occurred. Below the comic, there's a message from Maki, explaining that since Mr. Driller and Susumu's character haven't been properly introduced in the magazine yet, this comic aims to give readers a glimpse into Susumu's personality. The page also notes that the next manga strip will be on page 44. This page highlights the Arcade 2 mode, focusing on the 1,000 meters challenge. It features Susumu Hori, the main character, drilling down as expected in Mr. Driller games. The page also showcases versions of Mr. Driller on different gaming platforms, including PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy, each represented with a small image. These likely indicate the game was available on these systems. This guide outlines the strategy for Mr. Driller's 1,000 meters mode, the ultimate challenge to earn the Mr. Driller title. Players can succeed by reaching 1,000 meters without errors, or by exceeding 600,000 points. The mode consists of 10 increasingly difficult levels. Early levels, 1 to 4, introduce challenges like X block obstructions to air capsules and increasing block speeds. Mid-levels, 5 to 7, focus on mastering chain reactions with a limited number of block colors, while the game intensifies with higher block fall rates. Later levels, 8 to 10, drastically increase air consumption, block falling speed, and decreased capsule appearances, culminating in a final level that tests players' skills with a higher number of X blocks and an increase in air capsule placement. This page talks about the 500 meters mode in Mr. Driller, saying it's quite similar in difficulty to level 1 of the 1000 meters mode, so if you've cleared the 500 meters mode, you should be able to get through this level easily. It points out that there are only 4 block colors in this mode, which makes chain reactions less common. The strategy suggested is to dig straight down and change direction if you hit an X block. Air capsules are still available to collect, and it notes that in the Game Boy version, you start with 15 capsules, and air reduces by 20% every 11 seconds. The page then goes on to describe 2 patterns for air capsule recovery. Pattern A is simple. Air capsules are always placed above X blocks. You just grab the capsule and then move sideways. Pattern B is a bit more complex, adding random X blocks to the previous pattern. This can limit your movement for capsule collection, but the leftover X blocks create a kind of roof, making it a safer approach. The page highlights that in these levels, there aren't many X blocks, so blocks falling won't easily get stuck. A helpful tip is mentioned that at the very start of a level, there's always an air capsule directly underneath you, and even if you miss some air capsules in this level, it's still possible to clear it. This page is about conquering the 100 to 200 meter level in Mr.Driller. It points out that in this level, you get 12 air capsules and lose 20% air every 10 seconds. A key feature of this level is that there are only 3 block colors. This actually makes chain reactions more likely and potentially dangerous if you are not careful. It advises that you need to consciously control chain reactions in this level and avoid just digging straight down without thinking, as you might find yourself overwhelmed by falling blocks. The main strategy here is to clear blocks strategically and keep the area above you clear. The page then details 2 patterns for recovering air capsules. Pattern A shows a simple setup where air capsules are placed under X blocks. The advice here is to collect the capsule and then move to the side to avoid being trapped. Pattern B is similar, but with extra X blocks placed randomly around the capsule. This can make it a bit trickier to get the capsule and move away safely. But these extra X blocks can also create a sort of roof, potentially making it a safer position in the long run. For pattern B, it suggests that if you cannot secure safety above you, you might have to skip collecting the capsule. Alternatively, you could quickly grab the capsule and use the small amount of time before the X block falls to assess the situation around you. The 200 to 300 meter level in Mr.Driller presents increased difficulty. Air capsules are reduced to 9, and air depletes faster. X blocks are more prevalent, requiring strategic clearing. Players must understand how to efficiently remove them, primarily by clearing blocks beneath to cause them to fall and connect. Top-down chain reactions are less effective. The guide highlights air capsule recovery patterns, particularly those surrounded by X blocks. Recognizing these patterns is crucial to avoid air shortages. When no blocks are above an X block, dig to the side underneath it to cause it to fall, allowing retrieval of the air capsule. Be aware that surrounding X blocks may fall after collection, potentially triggering chain reactions. Clear blocks above an X block before clearing blocks below. Levels 300 to 400 in Mr.Driller intensified difficulty, with only 7 air capsules and air depleting by 20% every 10 seconds. Faster falling blocks and enemies necessitate skilled play, especially when navigating X blocks protecting air capsules. The guide outlines 2 recovery patterns. Pattern A involves clearing normal blocks between X blocks to reach capsules. Pattern B focuses on collapsing X blocks from above to break open enclosures. The guide reminds players that X blocks clear like normal blocks and to watch for falling blocks. Chain reactions might be less frequent due to the 4 block colors. In the Game Boy version, expect 7 or 8 air capsules, with the air depletion occurring at approximately 11 seconds. This page details level 400 to 500 of Mr.Driller, noting it features 9 air capsules and air depletes by 20% every 10 seconds. It mentions that due to having only 2 block colors, chain reactions may clear many blocks at once. The page advises players to fully recover their air in this section. The page then discusses bonus levels for air recovery, describing them as easier levels designed to replenish air. It warns players to be careful of not moving left and right carelessly, as block falling speed is fast and blocks are large. It suggests only moving within safe areas and performing horizontal movements after chain reactions stop. The Game Boy version is noted to have 9 air capsules and air depletion in approximately 11 seconds for 20%. The page also highlights air capsule recovery patterns, explaining that while air capsule collection is generally easy, players should be mindful of air levels from level 4 onwards, as chain reactions and falling time can be unexpectedly long, potentially leading to air shortages. It recommends being aware of falling blocks and collecting air capsules during horizontal movements. For optimal strategy, it suggests reaching the bottom of the level if possible, and then collecting falling air capsules. The page shows gameplay screenshots demonstrating common patterns and tips regarding air capsule recovery. It emphasizes being careful not to run out of air when falling down and collecting air capsules when reaching the bottom of the level. This page talks about levels 500 to 600 in Mr.Driller, noting that the game speed increases significantly. It mentions there are 8 air capsules and air depletes by 20% every 8 seconds in these levels, different from the Game Boy version. The page title is, "Any Phenomenon is Speed Up." indicating faster gameplay, block falling speed, and Susumu's movement speed. It highlights that air consumption becomes noticeably faster compared to levels below 5, making the game feel different. It advises players to prioritize safe block clearing over chain reactions due to the increased speed, and mentions there are 4 block colors in these levels. The guide recommends digging downwards efficiently and using X-mark blocks strategically for air recovery. The page shows air capsule recovery patterns and discusses common patterns. It explains that below level 500, air depletion is slower, and air capsules are more frequent. But in later levels, securing air becomes more challenging. It introduces the top-down air capsule drop technique, elaborated on page 20. The page advises players to be mindful when collecting air capsules, as blocks may fall simultaneously. The key tips are to trigger chain reactions with X-mark blocks, and collect air capsules when feet are still to avoid running out of air. Screenshots illustrate these points. Level 600 to 700 in Mr.Driller is extremely challenging due to frequent chain reactions and 3-color blocks. Players start with 7 air capsules, losing 20% air every 8 seconds. The key is to control chain reactions by actively creating them and keeping space above. X-marked blocks are easier to clear here. Air capsule recovery is possible. The Game Boy version has only 6 air capsules, potentially making it harder. The guide highlights 2 air capsule recovery patterns. Pattern A emphasizes clearing a path through X blocks, with red blocks at your feet indicating a safe capsule retrieval. Pattern B involves triggering chain reactions under scattered X blocks. Caution is advised when collecting capsules. Prioritize observing block falls before grabbing them. Levels 700 to 800 in Mr.Driller demand increased air management due to maximum air consumption speed. Players must adapt replenishment strategies learned in prior levels to avoid running out of air. While other game elements remain largely unchanged, efficient block clearing through chain reactions is crucial, prioritizing safety before collecting air. Faster descent is needed because of limited air capsules. The Game Boy version mirrors these conditions, with 6 air capsules and similar air depletion rates. The guide presents 2 air capsule recovery patterns. Pattern A utilizes horizontally arranged X-marked blocks, requiring strategic block attachment, while Pattern B features vertically long X-marked blocks. Pattern B is easier to collect capsules but time-consuming. Both require a balance of efficient digging and smart air capsule collection. Levels 800 to 900 in Mr.Drillers are extremely difficult, characterized by scarce air, only 5 capsules, depleting 20% every 7 seconds. A faster block fall speed, and an underground dwelling aesthetic. Successfully navigating these levels requires prioritizing air capsule collection above all else. Effective strategies include digging downwards and utilizing the 1-second block shake warning. 2 patterns are detailed. Pattern A focuses on scarce air, suggesting a staircase-like descent on the left, and utilizing X-marked blocks for chain reactions to release air. Pattern B deals with block clusters, advising either attaching nearby blocks or maneuvering around the obstacles. Clearing these levels with at least 70% air is ideal for progressing. The Game Boy version has slight air capsule variations. Quick decision-making is critical for survival. In the final level of Mr.Driller, last spurt is air unnecessary. Managing air is crucial. With 70% or more air, prioritize speed and dig straight down, ignoring air capsules. If air is low, collect capsules. Remember that air shortage warnings allow a significant distance of digging. If remaining distance is less than your remaining air percentage, rush to the goal. Air capsule collection, despite the level's complexity, isn't too difficult. Focus on digging downwards, prioritizing the blocks directly above. Grabbing about 2 air capsules is often sufficient, if not aiming for a top score. The abundance of X blocks and color differentiation actually simplifies digging and air recovery in this final level. This page is about the ending of Mr.Driller, revealing the mystery of the blocks. Susumu reaches 1,000 meters underground, the source of the blocks, and discovers the underground people. They are creating the blocks as food for the future. After Susumu explains the surface situation to the underground king, the king apologizes and orders the block production factory to stop, bringing peace to the surface. The page shows images of the underground kingdom, a factory producing blocks, which is revealed to be the background for level 10, and Susumu being rescued by helicopter, feeling refreshed after the ordeal. There is also a section on the Game Boy version ending, noting it's slightly different. In the Game Boy version, While the cause of the blocks is still the underground people, Susumu is even angrier because they overproduced food a second time, leading to more blocks on the surface. The page mentions that Susumu's constant worry in the PlayStation and Dreamcast endings leaves him mentally exhausted. This page presents a 4-panel comic strip, or 4-coma, featuring Mr. Driller. In this short comic, Susumu is shown drilling as usual. The first panel shows him looking up at the blocks in the sky, thinking how fun it looks outside. However, in the next panel, while drilling downwards, he reminds himself that just because it's spring, he can't get distracted from his important mission to solve the mystery of the underground. Despite his dedication, the third panel reveals Susumu feeling a bit lonely as he continues to drill. Finally, in the last panel, he is surprised and looks up at falling cherry blossom petals, seemingly noticing the spring season after all. Accompanying the comic is a comment from Maki, describing Susumu as a professional driller, revealing a new side to him. Maki explains that Susumu is always driven by a strong sense of mission and drills in solitude, but there are times when he feels lonely, which can be quite poignant. The page concludes by mentioning that the next manga is on page 48. This page introduces and explains the Endless Mr. Driller mode. The page features a large illustration of Susumu, the main character, and a Pucci, one of the block creatures, against a colorful backdrop. The title Endless is prominently displayed in bold red letters, followed by Japanese text, which translates to Thorough Driller Mode Explanation. Beneath this, 3 small screenshots showcase the game on different consoles: PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. This suggests the Endless mode is a feature available across these versions of Mr. Driller. This page delves deeper into the Endless Driller mode. It highlights that this mode is all about challenging your depth limit, with no set goals other than drilling as far as you can before failing. It stresses that stamina and focus are key to success in this mode, making it the ultimate test of a player's drilling skills. The page then provides advice on how to survive in Endless mode, emphasizing the importance of not dying as you only have one life. It suggests playing more cautiously than in other modes, because any mistake can lead to a game over. The level of difficulty increases every 100 meters you drill, but the page notes that air capsules and X-blocks, which give you air, are less frequent compared to other modes. This means you need to be extra mindful of your air supply and the falling blocks. The guide recommends using X-blocks to create overhead roofs to minimize block falls. It also points out that sometimes you'll encounter levels where air consumption or block falling speed is slower. These are good opportunities to replenish your air if needed. Finally, the page clarifies that although the depth meter displays a maximum of 9,999 meters, you can actually drill much further. It also explains that in levels with 4 block colors, continuous drilling downwards is the best strategy, and if you notice the difficulty seems to drop, it's wise to completely refill your air meter before progressing further. This page explains the game's difficulty settings and replay feature. It details that there are 3 difficulty levels: normal, hard, and expert. These settings determine your starting depth, beginning at 0 meters for normal, 1,000 meters for hard, and 2,000 meters for expert. Importantly, it clarifies that regardless of the starting depth, the gameplay conditions like falling block speed remain the same. The record screen is also shown, highlighting that records are saved separately for each difficulty level and are based purely on the depth achieved. Moving on to the replay feature, this section explains that the game records your gameplay up to 2 levels before a game over occurs. After a game over, you can watch a replay to analyze your route and identify areas for improvement, which is helpful for boosting your high scores. The replay function is described as being similar to a video, allowing you to pause or slow down playback. Furthermore, during replay, using the directional buttons lets you view blocks above the current screen. It also mentions that this replay feature is not available in the Game Boy version of the game. This page is a 4-panel comic strip featuring Mr. Driller characters. The comic starts with a character, presumably Susumu, brushing their hair and saying the weather is nice today. In the next panel, we see Susumu in a helicopter with someone saying, "Brother, good luck." The third panel shows Susumu underground getting ready to drill with the text, "Okay, today too, I will drill." The final panel shows Susumu looking tired underground, with the speech bubble saying something like, "Even underground you can feel refreshed." Meaningless though. Below the comic strip, there's a section titled 4-Coma Theater, with a message from Maki. It mentions that Susumu appears without his helmet for the first time, It also says that Namco company girls found him cute and very popular. The description clarifies that the person in the helicopter is Susumu's younger brother, Taiyu. It also says the next manga is on page 82. This page is focused on Time Attack 1 mode strategy. It highlights that the Time Attack mode is not available in the Game Boy version of the game. You can see screenshots from both the PlayStation and Dreamcast versions of the game showing the visual differences between the platforms. The main artwork features a cute Mr.Driller character who we know from the previous page's comic is Susumu, ready to tackle the Time Attack challenges. The next page dives into the Time Attack mode strategy for Mr. Driller. It emphasizes that the goal is to reach the goal within a set standard time for each of the 10 courses available in this mode. To succeed, you'll need to be quick at finding the fastest routes and master precise drilling techniques. A useful tip mentioned is to drill into falling blocks to shave off precious seconds. The rules of Time Attack mode are also outlined. Notably, there's no air to worry about, but hitting X blocks will incur a 5-second penalty. Instead of air capsules, time items appear, which can restore your time. There are 3 types of time items, each restoring a different amount of time, indicated by numbers on the item. Initially, only the first 4 courses are accessible, and you need to clear them to unlock the remaining courses. Be careful, as there are no lives in this mode, and hitting a block results in an instant game over. Time items are crucial for success, as they come in 1, 2, and 3-second varieties, and are essential to beat the standard times. The page also shows a screenshot of the course selection screen, where cleared courses are marked in pink, and your record time is displayed. This page continues the discussion on Time Attack mode techniques for Mr. Driller. It highlights 3 key techniques to improve your time. Firstly, it talks about utilizing vertical holes. The game advises that dropping through vertical holes is faster than drilling blocks downwards. It cautions players to be careful of falling blocks from above when using this technique. Secondly, the page describes drilling large blocks. It explains that after drilling a large block, a bigger hole appears, which can have a similar effect to vertical holes. Furthermore, some large blocks are linked to chain reactions, and by drilling them with good timing, you can trigger chain reactions to clear blocks quickly. Finally, the page discusses collecting time capsules. These items replenish your time and are often placed on the fastest routes. They act as landmarks to guide you. However, it also warns that in some courses, spending too much time to collect a time capsule might actually be slower overall. Therefore, sometimes ignoring them might be necessary for the best time. The page also shows a results screen demonstrating a new record in Time Attack mode, suggesting the player improved their clear time from 17 seconds to 9 seconds and 85 milliseconds. This page details strategies for the subway course in Mr. Driller, focusing on achieving a quick clear time of 15 seconds for the 100 meters depth course. The page highlights 2 key points. Firstly, at the 10-meter mark, when you reach the first vertical hole, it's faster to break the yellow blocks blocking the hole from the side and proceed horizontally instead of drilling directly downwards. This single direction change saves valuable time. Secondly, around the 43-meter mark, there are 5 time capsules, but the guide suggests ignoring them. Taking the route to collect these time items is actually slower, because it involves navigating a winding path and potentially getting caught on blocks, costing you precious seconds. The recommended strategy is to ignore these time capsules and drill straight down to save time. The right side of the page visually represents the course, marking depth in 10-meter increments and showing the placement of time capsules along the route. These visual cues reinforce the described strategies for optimal time attack performance on this specific subway course. This page continues the strategy guide for the subway course in Mr. Driller and highlights 2 more key points related to time items. Point 3 focuses on 4 time items. It states that these time items are lined up vertically, and grabbing them all at once is a great way to shorten your clear time. However, it also cautions that if you aim for these and miss, you might end up taking longer than the standard clear time. It specifically mentions the 46 meters mark and talks about T-shaped yellow blocks as a guide. The guide warns that attempting to get all 4 time items can be risky if you misjudge the route. Point 4 discusses the last time item. This final time item is located in an area with intricately placed X-marked blocks. The guide advises that if you are confident in your precise drilling skills, you can grab it, But if not, it's better to ignore it and take a safer route. Taking a safe route is recommended for a more consistent, clear time. It also notes that different colored blocks appear around this point, so timing your drill is crucial for continuous progress. The right side of the page visually shows the course from the 60 meters mark down to the goal, illustrating the block formations and the placement of the time items discussed in points 3 and 4 within the game level. This page continues the classical course strategy guide, focusing on aiming for long blocks and horizontal digging speed. The guide mentions that in this course, long vertical blocks play a key role, acting like vertical tunnels. It warns that there are branching points in the route, and mistakes can lead to missing time items, so caution is advised. Point 1 is about direction change during fall. It explains that when falling through vertically dug tunnels, you should change Susumu's direction mid-fall. This allows you to land and immediately start drilling the next block. This technique is useful in many courses, so it's recommended to learn it. The tip also states that while falling, you should just hold down the direction key to minimize time loss on landing. Point 2 discusses horizontal digging speed. From 30 meters to 40 meters, the guide suggests progressing in a staircase-like manner. The key point here is to use the direction key and time your block digging well. Horizontal digging is different from vertical digging, allowing movement while digging, thus avoiding wasted time. It also notes that when drilling adjacent blocks on the same horizontal line, horizontal drilling is often more advantageous. The right side of the page shows the course map from the start down to the 50 meters mark, visually illustrating the block layouts and gameplay advice for this section of the level. This page continues the strategy guide for the classical course. Point 3 highlights a route split at the 60 meters mark, where you'll find large blocks and a choice between yellow and green routes. The guide recommends taking the green route because, although distance-wise they are similar, the yellow block route takes longer to collect time items. Mistakes in route selection can lead to a game over. Point 4 discusses the second branching point, which occurs at 66 meters right after picking up a time item. Here, you'll face yellow and red blocks. The yellow route to the left is recommended, as it's easier to get time items. After this, you should follow the long blocks to reach the goal. It's noted that before yellow blocks, the green blocks can be moved horizontally in quick succession for faster digging. The right side of the page visually continues the course map, now showing the layout from 60 meters all the way down to 90 meters and the goal, illustrating the block arrangements and the placement of time items throughout this section of the course. At the bottom of the page is an image of the game's main character. The Armor Course, a 100 meters challenge with a 23-second target, features large X blocks containing time items. The guide, Let's Erase X Blocks, provides strategies for efficient block removal. Point 1 details digging the initial X blocks at the 22 meters mark, advising straight down excavation and running left to collect falling time items. The tip emphasizes edge digging for smoother disappearance. Point 2 addresses the 36 meters mark, where the same digging strategy applies. However, to avoid falling yellow blocks, it recommends preemptively clearing them at the 22 meters mark. Red blocks disappear on their own. A visual guide on the right side illustrates the block and time item arrangement from the start to the 50 meters mark. This page continues the guide for the Armor Course in Mr.Driller. Point 3, Avoid Blocks, focuses on the 55 meters mark onwards, where a new block pattern emerges. Time items fall in waves, and immediately after, blocks will drop. The advice here is to quickly turn right after grabbing the time items to dodge the incoming blocks. It notes that if you collect the fourth consecutive time item, you should quickly change direction. Point 4. Frequent route changes starts from the 65 meters mark. Initially, the recommendation is to dig on the right side of the course. However, to save time, it's suggested to change routes and dig where blocks are vertically connected. This clever tactic helps to avoid blocks falling from above and is more efficient for time saving. Even if it's just a small difference, it's considered effective, especially where thin blocks are lined up. The page provides visual examples of these strategies with gameplay screenshots. This page is titled Egypt Course and details a section of the game with a depth of 100 meters and a target time of 22 seconds. The text describes this course as a challenging level with many traps, similar to the Armor Course in structure, but here you can progress without destroying many X blocks. Time items in this course are designed to confuse the shortest route, making route discernment important. Point 1. Start from the left. Advises that at the 10 meters mark, the route splits left and right. The right side is blocked by X blocks. Therefore, you should proceed left to obtain a time item at 15 meters. After that, go under the pyramid-shaped blocks and change your route to the right. Point 2. 3-second time item. Highlights a time item at the 16 meters mark, which adds 3 seconds. It's recommended to collect this. To get it, drill under the X blocks, eliminate the X blocks, and then drill downwards. Afterwards, continue downwards, and at the 50 meters mark, switch the route back to the left. The text also notes that by letting blocks disappear and waiting, you can secure time while ensuring you collect the time item. This page continues the guide for the Egypt course, now focusing on points 3 and 4. Point 3, titled Ignore Time Items, talks about the time item located at the 60 meters mark. It might look like it will give you 2 seconds of extra time, but actually, collecting it will take more than 2 seconds. The advice here is to ignore this time item and just go straight down the side of the screen to save time. Point 4. Riches at Route Branching Points discusses the time item at the 68 meters mark at a route split. Apparently, this time item is there to confuse you about the best route. The right route has more time items, but also more blocks to deal with. Ultimately, the guide suggests that choosing the left route will get you to the goal faster. It also mentions a 2-second time item at 72 meters on the left side, which you should definitely collect before heading straight for the goal. This page is for the Nessie course, which is set in easy mode, course E, with a depth of 100 meters and a target clear time of 21 seconds. The guide is titled, Let's Erase Blocks with Chain Reactions. This course focuses on using large chain reactions to reach the goal. It mentions that the block arrangements change drastically in courses where chain reactions occur, making it difficult to find the fastest route, and encourages players to challenge it repeatedly to find the best path. Point 1 is about chain reactions with X-marked blocks. It explains how to use the X-marked blocks to create chain reactions, especially at the beginning of the course. The guide advises that at the start there's a cluster of X blocks. You should clear the X block directly above it, and then use the falling blocks from above, specifically at the 12 meters mark, to set off a chain reaction with the blocks at the 13 meters mark and below. The guide gives an example using the blocks at the 12 meters and 13 meters marks to demonstrate how to trigger these chain reactions with X blocks. There is a screenshot illustrating this gameplay. Besides this, there is also an image of the main character, Susumu Hori, and a vertical map of the stage from the start to 50 meters. The next page continues the guide on chain reactions, focusing on going around to the other side of the chain reaction. Point 2 explains that at the 48 meters mark, there's a wall of X-marked blocks. You'll use X-marked blocks at the 36 meters mark to help clear this. If you hit a green block around the 35 meters mark, it will trigger a chain reaction causing X blocks to fall. The tip here is to move to the right side before these X blocks fall. It also mentions to move under the red blocks. Point 3 is titled, Quick Movement is Key. From the 48 meters mark downwards, you can descend quickly using continuous chain reactions. The trick is to weave left and right through these chains to collect all the time-extending items. The guide highlights that blocks will disappear during chain reactions, so you might need to search for the route, and quick movement is crucial. It also warns that blocks might fall during the chain reactions, so you need to be careful not to get caught underneath them. The page also includes screenshots illustrating these gameplay tips and a vertical map of the stage from the 60 meters mark down to the goal. This page is part of the background gallery for Mr.Driller and is titled Underground 1000 Meters Road Part 1. It showcases 2 different background themes. The first theme, labeled Subway, depicts a scene from the 0 to 100 meter depth levels. It seems like a subway train has derailed, possibly due to an outbreak of blocks from underground, leading to an accident. The second theme, labeled Classical, represents the 100 to 200 meter depth levels. Here, a classical car has crashed into a house, again apparently caused by blocks appearing. Both scenarios are attributed to block outbreaks within the game. The next page continues the background gallery, now exploring deeper underground from 200 to 600 meters. First up, between 200 and 300 meters, we have the armor background. This area looks like a medieval armory, with swords, spears, and armor neatly stored. The text suggests this is a weapon warehouse, styled after the classical theme from the previous page, but with a more medieval feel. Moving down to 300 to 400 meters, the Egypt background appears, featuring ancient Egyptian wall paintings. It's noted that on the left side of the painting, there's a bird that looks like it could be from somewhere else, hinting at possible crossover references within the game. Deeper still, at 400 to 500 meters, is the Nessie background, a dark cave setting. The text mentions that something large is moving in the background, and on the right side, Earthlings are depicted. It poses the question of whether Nessie and the Earthlings coexist in this environment. Finally, for the 500 to 600 meter range, we have the Mammoth background. This icy scene showcases mammoths and carnivorous dinosaurs preserved in ice, suggesting a frozen prehistoric environment deep underground. This page details the Mammoth course, which is set at a depth of 100 meters and has a target clear time of 20 seconds. The guide emphasizes that precise controls are key to conquering this course, warning that while the fastest route might seem obvious, fatal traps are lurking. It stresses that even small mistakes can be deadly, so players must stay calm and not succumb to pressure. The page highlights two crucial points within the Mammoth course. Point 1, called Curves Like a Snake, refers to a zigzagging path starting at the 24-meter mark. It advises players to utilize directional changes while falling, to descend as quickly as possible. Around the 40-meter mark, the path transitions into a staircase, where moving straight to the right is recommended. The guide notes that stopping and block breakdown are crucial considerations here, suggesting that constant movement is vital. Point 2 is named Life-Threatening Stairs. This section requires rapid character control as the blocks crumble quickly. The strategy here is to grab the time item and immediately latch onto the yellow blocks above, then move left. Players are cautioned about falling blocks after passing through this area. The guide also suggests holding down the directional button when climbing blocks to save precious time. The right side of the page visually maps out the course from the start down to 50 meters, illustrating the described snake-like curves and stair sections. This page continues the guide for the Mammoth course, focusing on key points from the 60-meter mark down to the goal. Point 3 warns about going too far in a section made of X-marked blocks. Apparently, if you push too deep into this area, you risk getting trapped by blocks closing in. The advice here is to pause on the yellow blocks and quickly dig downwards to escape the trap. It also mentions that after you pass this point, blocks will start falling from above, so you need to be cautious. The guide suggests a 3-block width should be enough to get through safely. Point 4 highlights the biggest trap in the entire course, emphasizing it as the most challenging part. This section features 3 time items in a row. The guide stresses that collecting all 3 items is crucial, otherwise the number of blocks decreases, making it much more dangerous. The recommended strategy is to grab the 3rd time item and immediately turn back. Timing is super critical here, with even half a second making a difference. If you're not confident in your timing, it might be safer to just skip these time items altogether. The page also visually maps out the course from 60 meters down to the goal, showing the block layout and the positions of the time items in these tricky sections. This page introduces the Zorus course, with a depth of 100 meters and a target time of 23 seconds. The main point of this course is item collection, as many time items are hidden within X-marked blocks. It emphasizes strategically destroying blocks to collect these items and gain maximum points. It advises against large chain reactions and suggests careful digging to reliably collect time items. Point 1 focuses on chain reactions. It mentions that the first time item is surrounded by X-marked blocks, but suggests digging the green blocks beneath to trigger a chain reaction, offering a small chance to collect the item in the process. This chain effect can also help in getting subsequent time items more easily. Point 2 is about digging through blue blocks. At the 45-meter mark, there are 3 time items to collect. To reach them, you should dig through the blue blocks from the 38-meter mark to create a passage. Once you dig through, surrounding blocks will fall, allowing quick collection of the time items and progression to the next point. It warns about falling X-marked blocks from above, advising caution and suggesting changing direction left or right early to avoid them. This page continues the guide for the Zorus course, focusing on points 3 and 4. Point 3 is about the 64-meter mark, where you need to drop X-marked blocks to get a time item. The tip is to drop the top right X block to open a path, Then quickly drop down to collect the time item. As the blocks disappear, this helps to shorten your clear time. Point 4 covers the area from 80 meters onwards, pointing out 2 time items and a path made of X-marked blocks. It suggests approaching from the right side, carefully moving through the gaps in the blocks, and going right immediately after getting the previous time item. This area needs careful timing of controls, because there are lots of small blocks, and you'll need to change direction accurately. The page also shows screenshots of the level from 60 meters all the way to the goal. This page dives into the Ammonite course Part 1 in Mr.Driller, setting a depth of 200 meters and a target clear time of 25 seconds. The guide calls this course a wave of chain reactions and suggests that while the depth is considerable, the course is designed for speed if you can maintain chain reactions effectively. Point 1 focuses on starting the chain reaction. It instructs players to head straight down from the starting point, hitting X-marked blocks to initiate chain reactions. After this, holding left on the directional key will let you ride the disappearing blocks. It highlights that the first 3 time items are easily collected this way. A tip mentions that the first half of this course barely requires any block drilling, emphasizing concentration on chain reaction movements. Point 2 is about passing through block gaps. After collecting the first 3 time items, the guide advises to immediately switch to heading right. You'll need to navigate through gaps in the chain reactions to collect the 4th time item. After this, positioning yourself 1 block to the right of the course's center allows you to simply drop downwards. It also points out a time item at the 45-meter mark, suggesting you should ignore it initially and collect it later as you fall. The page shows gameplay screenshots to visually demonstrate these points from the start down to 50 meters. This page continues the guide for the Ammonite course Part 1 in Mr.Driller. Point 3 focuses on the second direction change at the 55-meter mark. The guide advises players to aim for the 2-second time item at this depth. After grabbing it, you should move to the left, breaking the red blocks as you go. A time capsule will fall from above, which you need to collect while still breaking blocks to get the next time item. It's mentioned that large chain reactions are common in this part of the course, making it possible to collect time items with good timing. Moving on to point 4. This section is about collecting items near the end of the course, around the 100-meter mark. To collect the time items, you should move right after getting the 8th time item. You'll need to break blocks that split the course into left and right paths, then proceed to the right. After breaking the green blocks at your feet, you can simply fall to collect the remaining time items. The guide notes that if you reach 100 meters with 10 seconds or less of time remaining, your pace is good. But if it takes over 15 seconds, clearing the course will become challenging. This page continues the Ammonite course guide, now focusing on Part 2. Point 1 is about restarting chains at the 100-meter mark. It mentions that hitting the blue blocks at this depth will automatically start chain reactions. The guide suggests staying in the center of the course and digging downwards to safely reach around 150 meters. It also notes that in the first half of this stage, you can easily gain time as you'll naturally fall through the course. Point 2 guides you on quickly collecting items around the 128-meter mark. To grab the time items efficiently, you need to dig quickly before the platforms disappear in chain reactions. The advice is to collect the items and swiftly return to the center of the course. It warns that if the platforms supporting the time items disappear, collecting them becomes significantly harder, so speed is crucial. This page continues the Ammonite course guide, with Point 3 focusing on navigating below X-marked blocks at the 150 meters mark. It highlights the presence of large yellow blocks and suggests using chain reactions to create passages and collect time items. It mentions that while going through chains is risky, there's a safer alternative route if you have enough time to spare, implying a potential waiting strategy. Moving on to Point 4, the guide emphasizes caution near the goal, specifically around 175 meters, again with X-marked blocks. These blocks are noted to disappear due to chain reactions, which can unexpectedly open the path to the goal. The guide warns against falling into the goal hole prematurely and getting trapped by blocks if you are too slow to react. A useful tip is given. If the goal is blocked by these X blocks, waiting for about 5 seconds will cause them to disappear, clearing the path. This page introduces the Mansion Course Part 1, setting a depth of 200 meters and a target clear time of 14 seconds. It details a unique elevator structure using X-marked blocks and vertical shafts. Point 1 explains how to get on the elevators. The first step is to locate the blue blocks at the 11-meter mark. From the start, you should head directly downwards. The guide notes that the elevators disappear as soon as you arrive, so you need to be quick to get off them. Point 2 covers elevator transfers. Upon reaching an elevator platform, immediately move to the right to find the next elevator going downwards. Quick transfers are essential. A helpful tip for navigating these elevators is to hold down a direction key while falling to minimize any unnecessary directional changes during descent. The right side of the page visually illustrates the course layout from the start down to 50 meters, showcasing the block arrangements and elevator shafts. This page continues the guide for the mansion course. Point 3 gives advice for navigating elevators at the 54-meter mark, highlighting that timing your jumps can be tricky when trying to board elevators while falling. The pro tip is to move horizontally, just a bit early when jumping onto the elevator. It's crucial to hold down the directional key and watch out for blocks above you before you jump so you don't get squashed. Point 4 warns about falling blocks above your head, specifically near the final elevator. After the last elevator vanishes, 2 blocks will drop right in the middle of the course. If you linger too long, you could get stuck, but shaking your feet and moving to the next level will prevent this. The guide mentions that while speed is important to minimize time loss, safety should come first, advising players to dig horizontally to progress securely. The right side of the page visually shows the level layout from 60 meters down to 100 meters, illustrating the block arrangement and elevator shafts as you descend further into the mansion course. This page continues the Mansion Course Part 2 guide, focusing on key points deeper into the level. Point 1 advises on the correct elevator path around the 100-meter mark. It highlights that near the 100 meters point, when you encounter elevators and time items, the left elevator is the correct route. However, it mentions that if you prioritize getting items, you can take the right elevator as well, suggesting both paths are possible. The guide also sets a time limit, stating that reaching 100 meters within 10 seconds is considered a good clear time, and anything slower might make clearing the level difficult. Point 2 discusses navigating disappearing blocks at the 136-meter mark. It warns about red blocks falling from above and emphasizes crossing the disappearing blocks carefully. It mentions that time items are available on the left side during this section. A helpful tip is that if you stay on the disappearing blocks, new blocks will appear, extending the time before the original blocks vanish, giving you more time to navigate. The right side of the page visually presents the level layout from 110 meters down to 150 meters, showing the arrangement of blocks and the placement of items as you descend further into the mansion course. This page continues the Mansion Course Part 2 guide, moving on to deeper sections of the level. Point 3 warns about X-mark block traps around the 143 meters mark. It mentions a time item at this depth and explains that blocks marked with an X are traps. After collecting the time item, the guide advises moving to the blue blocks on the left to avoid danger, suggesting that staying in the middle can lead to getting crushed when blocks fall. Point 4 focuses on transfer failure on elevators from 160 meters onwards. It highlights that elevator sections become frequent after 160 meters, and precise movement is crucial. Missing an elevator can cause you to lose time items, but the guide emphasizes being careful in these elevator sections to maintain a good time. The right side of the page visually displays the level design from 160 meters down to the goal at 190 meters, showing the elevator placements and block arrangements in this final stretch of the mansion course. A character illustration is also featured at the bottom of the page. This page introduces the Factory Course Part 1 for what seems to be a Mr.Driller game. It's a time attack course with a depth of 300 meters and a target clear time of 25 seconds. The guide emphasizes focusing on chaining drills to navigate through the level. Point 1 advises to ignore the very first time item at the start. Instead, players should concentrate on drilling through the red and green blocks on the right side to create a path. It suggests collecting the time items later in groups for efficiency. Point 2 recommends changing the route to the left side after passing 40 meters down. It mentions that at 56 meters there's another time item that should also be ignored initially, similar to the first one. The guide says to collect these ignored time items in bulk around the 95-meter mark after progressing further down. It also notes that around the 40-meter point, a drill combo might break, but players shouldn't worry about blocks overhead at that point and should just move to the left as instructed. The right side of the page shows a visual map of the level from the starting point down to 50 meters, depicting the block arrangement and time item placements, along with depth markings. Points 1 and 2 from the text are clearly marked on this map to illustrate the described strategies. This page continues the guide for the factory course part 1. Point 3 is titled, Run Through the Chain. It advises using the cross-shaped red blocks at the 60-meter mark as a landmark. The guide suggests changing your route to the right and drilling through the red blocks to get the time item below. After getting this item, it tells you to go left to collect the previously ignored time items. It also gives a tip that if you break blocks in a chain, you should use the path that opens up to collect the time items from above. Point 4 is about time difference item collection. It mentions the time items ignored earlier, specifically the first and fifth ones, can be collected together with the time item at 95 meters. Since these are all in a vertical line, it suggests clearing the blocks in a chain beforehand to drop down and collect them all at once efficiently. It notes that if you spend too much time collecting these time items individually, it is wasteful. The right side of the page shows a map of the level from 60 meters down to 100 meters, visually demonstrating the block layout and time item placements at each depth. We can also see a character artwork of the Mr. Driller protagonist in the bottom left corner. This page continues with the factory course. Now on to part 2. Point 1 is titled, Start is from the left, and it mentions that the route is hard to find, so be careful. The guide suggests sticking to the left side of the course to collect time items at the 106 meters mark. After getting these, move to the right to collect more at 119 meters and 124 meters. It also gives a time tip, saying if you arrive here with around 7 seconds left, you should be fine. But if you are over 10 seconds, you won't beat the standard time. Point 2 is about going underneath the blocks. It advises that at the 125 meters mark, after breaking the left yellow blocks, you should go under the blocks to collect the time capsule at the 132 meters mark. It also recommends to progress downwards in a chain. It notes that waiting for chains is key here, and if you move one square to the left during this, you will be in a safe position. The right side of the page visually maps out the level from 110 meters down to 150 meters, showing the block layout and the positions of the time capsules at different depths. At the bottom left of the page is an illustration of the blue Mr. Driller character. This page continues the factory course part 2 guide. Now moving on to point 3, titled, Proceeding Ahead with Chains. Starting from the third block from the left, you should dig straight down. After digging through the large yellow block at the 155 meters mark, move towards the center as chains are forming above. At the 172 meters mark, collect the time item and then move one block to the right. The guide mentions that block erasing time is long, so it's faster to dig directly instead of waiting for chains. Point 4 is total item collection and advises that at the 187 meters mark, you should collect all the time items you've been ignoring so far. First, get the 2 time items placed there, and then get the time items falling from above by moving horizontally. After that, you should dig into the next level. It's noted as a tip that numbers will appear as you collect items, so be careful not to dig downwards when the numbers are displayed. On the right side of the page, the level map continues from 160 meters down to 200 meters, showing the block layouts for these depths and the positions of time items within the level. This page continues the factory course. Now moving on to part 3. Point 1 is about finding gaps in the blocks, starting at the 200 meters mark. It advises to look for a gap in the blocks to the left, dig down breaking blocks, and be careful of falling blocks. It also mentions that if your time is under 14 seconds by this point, clearing the target time shouldn't be too difficult. Point 2 is time items are for later, suggesting you should collect time items towards the end of this section. It recommends chaining blocks to make items fall, and mentions that some items can be picked up along the way. The guide points out that because the blocks are large, chaining is easier. On the right side, the level map continues from 210 meters down to 250 meters, visually showing the block arrangement and the locations of time items within this section of the level. The next page continues the factory course guide, with point 3 focusing on difficult to collect items at the 240 meters mark. It explains that the time item at this depth is trickier than others to get. The strategy is to collect 3 time items, then move 2 blocks to the right and dig straight down to grab it. The guide notes that the blocks under the 3 time items are indestructible, which is a key point to remember. Point 4 is about a time-shortening chance at 270 meters. Here, a 3-second time item is available. To collect this, you should move to the left side of the course after passing the 260 meters mark. It suggests that if you've been skipping time items until now, this is a good one to grab. It also points out that this 3-second item is valuable and worth the effort, even if it takes digging through a few blocks to reach it. The right side of the page shows the level map continuing from 260 meters down to 290 meters, visually displaying the block arrangement and the location of time items for this part of the level, ending with the goal at the bottom. This page presents a 4-panel manga from Mr. Driller, titled 4, Gikiju by Maki. Maki mentions that, as the release date of Mr. Driller approached, this was the first time a game introduction article was published in color. The content is described as Game PR. The manga itself is a short comic strip. In the first panel, we see Mr. Driller outside a game store with a sign saying, Game S. He's excitedly announcing to everyone that the release date for Mr. Driller is approaching. In the second panel, inside the store, we see many copies of Mr. Driller games stacked up, and Mr. Driller is surprised at the large number of games. In the third panel, customers are shown grabbing and fighting over the Mr. Driller games, causing chaos. Finally, in the last panel, Mr. Driller winks and says, "In that case, please buy Mr. Driller." It's a humorous and simple promotion for the game. The page also states that the next manga will be on page 104 and provides publication information stating it's from Monthly Cutie Comic, published by Takarajima in July 2000. This page is about the Time Attack 2 mode, specifically the Back Time Attack mode for Mr. Driller. It mentions that this Back Time Attack mode is not available in the Game Boy version of the game. We can see a bold title, Time Attack 2, and underneath it, in smaller text, Back Time Attack Mode Strategy. There's an image of the iconic Mr. Driller character, holding his drill and looking ready to get into some action. Below this, there are 2 screenshots showing the Mr. Driller character in slightly different graphical styles. These are clearly labeled as PlayStation and Dreamcast versions, showcasing the game on these 2 different consoles. It seems like this page is giving tips or strategies for the Time Attack mode in Mr. Driller 2, with a focus on the PlayStation and Dreamcast versions, highlighting a mode not found on the Game Boy. The next page continues the strategy guide for the Back Time Attack mode in Mr. Driller. It explains that to unlock the back course, you need to clear all the regular courses in Time Attack mode. There are 10 back courses in total, and they mirror the regular courses but with flipped block layouts and shorter standard clear times, by about 2 to 8 seconds. The page emphasizes that these back courses are very challenging, requiring precise routes. It suggests practicing routes in advance, without focusing on time initially, and to optimize item collection and minimize drilling. Apparently, page 85 has block layouts for the back courses to help plan routes. The page also mentions that in Time Attack mode, air doesn't matter, so you can freely explore routes. There are tips about how the course layout being mirrored can easily lead to route mistakes. Finally, it reassures players that with the right route, it is possible to significantly beat the standard clear time in back courses. The page includes a result screenshot showing a record in the back Egypt course, with goal time 01399 and a clear time of 01600, celebrating a new record and congratulating the player for clearing the back Egypt course and unlocking new courses. This page continues the back subway course guide. It details that the course is 100 meters deep, with a target time of just 10 seconds. The key to this course, according to the guide, is the 4th time item. It generally advises players to follow routes that link air pockets and time items. However, for a faster route, it suggests dropping straight down from the 35 meters mark, potentially skipping the time item at 43 meters. The guide mentions that the time lost in horizontal movement is roughly equal to the time gained from items, so going straight down is simpler and can shorten your time. The page visually displays the back subway course layout from start to goal, marking depth in 10-meter increments and showing the locations of time items with clock icons. It also notes that in this course with few linked chains, timing your drill shots is crucial to progress efficiently. The next page details the back classical course, which is set at a depth of 100 meters with a target clear time of 12 seconds. The page highlights that precise controls are crucial for success in this course. It mentions that there aren't any immediately obvious routes for quickly beating the target time. The strategy here is to accurately drill through blocks while grabbing time items. The guide recommends practicing to improve your digging skills and suggests using directional changes during falls and horizontal digging as effective methods to cut down on time wastage. Visually, the page presents a map of the back classical course, showing the path from start to goal, marked with depth indicators every 10 meters, and icons marking the locations of time-boosting clocks. A note of caution is given about route splits, reminding players to be mindful that left and right directions can be reversed. Finally, an illustration of a Mr.Driller character is shown at the bottom of the page. This page introduces the back armor course, set at a depth of 100 meters with a target clear time of 15 seconds. It's described as possibly the most difficult course, emphasizing the need to refine your rapid-fire digging skills and employ a straightforward strategy. The guide points out that there are no easy shortcuts or chain reaction opportunities. Instead, you must steadily improve your continuous digging ability while collecting all the time-extending items to beat the target time. A particular challenge mentioned is retrieving time items near X-marked blocks due to their slow clearing time, potentially slowing down your progress. The page includes a course map showing the path from start to goal with depth markers every 10 meters and icons of clocks indicating time item locations. It also notes that practicing horizontal digging is recommended for dealing with X blocks. At the bottom, there's a screenshot of the game interface showing a clear screen. It displays record times, name entry options, and course selection menus. The text below the screenshot mentions that achieving a clear time under 14 seconds is considered nearly impossible, even with perfect play. The next page introduces the Back Egypt course, a 100-meter deep challenge with a target clear time of 16 seconds. This course, like the standard Egypt course, features a shortest route design. It highlights that the level layout has alternating short and long blocks, which can make simple rapid-fire drilling difficult, as you might get stuck. Therefore, precise digging timing is crucial for success. While the target time is strict, it's mentioned that it's not as harsh as the back armor course. The page also points out that time items are abundant in this course, which is a key characteristic. It advises players to be mindful of routes that reverse from left to right. Below the text are tips relating to the course map. One tip mentions that between 45 meters and 80 meters, blocks with varying lengths are densely packed. Another tip suggests that time items are used generously in this course, and to be aware of route mirroring from left to right. The page features a course map from start to goal, marked with depth indicators every 10 meters, and clock icons showing time item locations. It looks like a visually similar layout to the previous course, but with different block arrangements and challenges described in the text. This page introduces the Back Nessie course, which is a 100-meter deep course with a target clear time of 19 seconds. The page highlights that the key point for this course is to maintain continuous chains of blocks being drilled and to quickly collect time items. The text emphasizes that when you get a time item, you should immediately move to a position where you can easily get the next one. It specifically mentions that after collecting the time item at the 75-meter mark, you should quickly dig through the blocks on the left side. The page also includes a course map visually showing the layout from start to goal, with depth markers every 10 meters and clock icons indicating the locations of time items throughout the course. There's a picture of a Mr.Driller character at the bottom of the page, seemingly for visual appeal. The text also advises that as you progress by chaining blocks, you should always keep an eye on the blocks above you. This page continues the background gallery from Mr.Driller, this time focusing on deeper levels. Between 600 to 700 meters underground, the background is described as being completely dark, with dinosaur bones buried in the soil. If you look closely, you can even see a large bone that looks like prey being held in the jaw of a dinosaur skeleton. The text suggests it's the bone of a carnivorous dinosaur. Moving deeper, from 700 to 800 meters underground, the background changes again. This time, it features a colorful ammonite fossil with a spiral pattern embedded in the ground. The text mentions that other fossils, resembling things like starfish and crayfish, are also buried alongside it. This page showcases more background levels from Mr.Driller as you dig deeper underground. Starting at around 1,000 meters, you'll reach the ground level, a city scene with colorful buildings, advertising, books, toy shop, comics, Wonder Hotel, and even a restaurant. It's mentioned that the usual blocks disappear here, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Deeper still, between 900 to 1,000 meters, you'll find the factory background. This is where the underground people apparently make the blocks that are used as food. The image shows a factory interior with machinery and conveyor belts hinting at block production. Finally, between 800 and 900 meters deep, you'll encounter the mansion background. This opulent setting is described as a large mansion where the underground people live, and it's also home to their king. The picture shows a fancy interior scene with a doorway labeled Mansion, suggesting a regal residence. You can even see the Mr. Driller characters, Hooray and Anna, in the images showcasing these levels. This page details the Back Mammoth course, a 100-meter deep stage with a target clear time of 17 seconds. The advice here emphasizes taking risks to collect items, stating that while X-marked blocks clearly indicate the shortest route, skillful play is still needed to beat the target time. That also points out that unlike the standard Mammoth course, where time items at 79 meters could be skipped, in this back course, it's crucial to collect all time items, even if it means taking a dangerous path, to achieve the target time. The page visually presents the course map, showing the block layout and the positions of items as you descend from the start to the goal at 100 meters. Susumu Hori is also featured on this page. This page introduces the Back Zorus course, another challenging 100-meter deep stage with a tough target clear time of 17 seconds. The page emphasizes the need to collect all time items marked with clocks throughout the course, even if it means taking a slightly longer or riskier path, as these are key to achieving the target time. The course map visually shows the layout of blocks from the start point down to the goal at 100 meters, indicating the positions of these crucial time-extending items at various depths, like 10 meters, 20 meters, 40 meters, 50 meters, 70 meters, and 80 meters. The tip on the page advises that when collecting the first time item, it's important to leave the blue blocks at your feet intact. Another hint suggests that around the 60 meters mark, destroying the yellow block in the center will clear falling blocks, which might be helpful. This page presents the Back Ammonite course, a challenging stage with a depth of 200 meters and a target clear time of just 17 seconds. The page emphasizes that speed is crucial for success on this course, and collecting time items through chain reactions is the best strategy. The course map illustrates the layout of blocks and the positions of time items as you descend from the start. It advises that while collecting time items is generally important, the time item located at the 45-meter mark requires a strategic approach involving time difference to maximize time gain. The text also suggests that quick controls from the player character Susumu and bold decisions to dive through falling blocks during chain reactions are essential for clearing this course. A tip at the bottom notes that block arrangements change rapidly during chain reactions, making time items useful visual cues for route changes. This page continues the course map, showing the stage layout from 110 meters down to the goal at 190 meters. It highlights two key depth points with accompanying screenshots. Firstly, it mentions that if you reach the 100-meter mark with a time in the 9-second range, you're in a good position to clear the stage. Secondly, it advises that in the area beyond 160 meters, you might want to consider actively digging forward yourself rather than solely relying on chain reactions. This suggests that the later parts of the course might require a more proactive approach compared to earlier sections, where chain reactions are more emphasized for time saving. This page details the Reverse Mansion course, a challenging 200-meter deep stage with a target clear time of 12 seconds. It mentions that the shortest route is fairly obvious, and the standard clear time is similar to the regular Mansion course. The guide advises players to primarily use the elevators to clear the course within the target time. However, it warns that around the 90-meter mark, you need to be careful. If you try to avoid the falling X-marked blocks horizontally, you might lose time and fail to clear the stage. Specifically at the 90 meters point, it highlights that players must quickly proceed to the next level to avoid being crushed by falling blocks. Visually, the page presents a course map starting from the top and going down to 100 meters, showing the layout with various block patterns and elevator locations. There's also an illustration of the Mr. Driller character in the bottom left corner. This page continues the walkthrough of the Reverse Mansion course, showing the level layout from 110 meters down to the goal. It mentions that if you've been using elevators effectively, your time at the 100 meters mark should be around 8 seconds. At the 160 meters and 170 meters points of the course, the guide points out that the elevators are reversed left and right, so players should be careful. It suggests that picking up the 2-second time item in this area is the correct approach. The page also features a level clear screenshot and an illustration of a Mr. Driller character at the bottom right. This page introduces the Reverse Factory Course Part 1, setting a depth of 300 meters and a target time of 17 seconds. The focus here is on efficiently collecting time items, especially since the course only uses 2 block colors, making route planning trickier for speedruns. The guide emphasizes using time items strategically to make up for lost time. It even points out a clever trick. If time items are lined up vertically, you can break blocks to collect them all at once, helping to shave off even more seconds. The page also includes a level map, showing the course layout from the start down to 100 meters, clearly marking the positions of time items. You can also see a small gameplay screenshot at the bottom, showing the player collecting time items, and a cute Mr. Driller character illustration in the corner. The next page continues the guide for the Reverse Factory Course Part 1, mapping out the level from 110 meters down to 200 meters, showing the layout of the blocks in blue and orange. You can see the depth markers running down the right side, indicating the descent. The level map clearly marks the locations of time items throughout this section of the course. There's also a level clear screenshot to highlight success. The text next to it reinforces the importance of time items, stating that to achieve the target clear time, you should aim to be 8 seconds ahead of the target time when you reach the 100 meters mark. It also advises players that time items located to the left and right of the main path might be tricky to collect, so you should actively go for them. Finally, a Mr. Driller character is featured in the bottom right corner. This page continues the Reverse Factory Course Part 2, picking up from where the previous page left off and mapping out more of the level downwards. The level design is displayed from 210 meters down to the goal at 350 meters, with depth markings on the side. There's information about clearing all the courses in time attack mode. If you manage to do this and meet the standard clear times for all the reverse courses, a secret command will be revealed at the ending. This command lets you change Susumu's suit color from red to blue, and this blue Susumu can then be used in arcade mode and thorough driller mode. It's mentioned that while the color changes, the difficulty of the game remains the same. Playing as blue Susumu is suggested as something a little different and fun. There's also a screenshot of the game interface, and at the bottom it's noted that blue Susumu can appear in demo screens and time attack mode, but the ending itself will not change. This page introduces the Internet mode for Mr. Driller, clarifying that this mode is exclusive to the Dreamcast version of the game. It's a feature unique to the Dreamcast release, as highlighted by the text and the Dreamcast logo shown below a picture of Susumu. This page number is 101 in the guidebook. This page continues explaining the Internet mode for Mr. Driller on Dreamcast, focusing on connecting to the Mr. Driller webpage. You can use the Internet to access the Mr. Driller webpage to check national rankings and register your own scores from your visual memory to compete in the rankings. It also mentions there are Driller tournaments, where you can compete against other players nationwide. To use the Internet mode, you'll need to register as a Sega user and pay communication fees. Besides the Mr. Driller webpage, you can also access Namco's Wonder Page and Sega Enterprise's Dream Home from the Internet mode. For more information, the page shows how to get a registration ticket for the Driller tournament from the web page, and you can only get 1 ticket per day to register your score. The screenshots show examples of the user registration screen, the ranking page, and the ticket issuing process. This page focuses on the Driller King tournaments in Mr. Driller. There are 2 main types of tournaments: the one-day Driller King tournament and the monthly Ultimate Driller King Championship. The one-day Driller King tournament is a daily competition where rankings reset every day. You need a download ticket to participate and can only register your score once a day. To become the one-day Driller King, you have to maintain good results. Otherwise, you'll lose your title the next day. This tournament uses downloadable maps, and your score is determined by the depth you reach and points you get. The monthly Ultimate Driller King Championship is a month-long event. Unlike the daily tournament, you can submit your scores multiple times throughout the month to improve your ranking and aim for the title of Ultimate Driller King. The page points out that while the one-day tournament has a practice mode, the monthly championship doesn't, encouraging players to challenge themselves repeatedly to get the best score. The page also mentions various rankings available on the Mr. Driller webpage. Besides the tournaments, there's a digging championship, which ranks players based on several categories like startup time, how long the game is left running, play count, total distance traveled, and number of blocks destroyed. The driller diagnosis is also mentioned as a way to analyze your drilling style within the tournament mode. This page is a 4-panel comic strip, or 4-koma manga, featuring Susumu from Mr. Driller. It's like a little scene setting the stage for Susumu's fame. The comic starts with kids excitedly pointing at Susumu, calling him Mr. Driller. In the next panel, more kids are surrounding him, clearly recognizing him and praising him as Mr. Driller. Then, Susumu looks puzzled, wondering why everyone knows him. The final panel is set in a game shop where Mr. Driller games are on display, complete with a "Congratulations, Mr. Driller" release banner. Below the comic, there's a little blurb from Maki, explaining that Susumu is now famous. It mentions that, in this setting, Susumu is a well-known figure, but he's still a bit clueless and innocent, wondering why everyone knows about him. Maki jokes that Susumu's personality is a bit ditzy and oblivious, and asks for continued support, ending with "Yoroshiku," a polite Japanese phrase for "please be kind to me," or "best regards." It's a fun little character moment, showing Susumu's humble and slightly confused reaction to his newfound fame as Mr. Driller. This page showcases an interview, and it's titled "Developer Interview" in Japanese. At the top, you can see an image featuring 4 of those cute Mr. Driller-style characters getting progressively smaller in size, almost like they're lined up in perspective. And right there is the Namco logo, so it's definitely related to their games. This page is number 105, considering the previous page was about Susumu becoming famous as Mr. Driller. This interview likely dives into the development side of the Mr. Driller games, riding on the character's newfound fame. This page continues the developer interview from the previous page. It features a photograph of 5 individuals who are likely the developers being interviewed. The interview section is headlined with "Unexpected Development Ideas." The interview discusses the plan to take the popular arcade game Mr. Driller to home consoles. It mentions that Mr. Driller was originally designed as an arcade game. They discuss whether the staff changed during the porting process to home consoles. It's mentioned that the main staff remained mostly the same, with the programmers differing depending on the console. They used a program created by a person named Kaneko as a base for the porting work. The interview touches upon the decision to release a consumer version after the arcade success. They initially planned to release it as a home console game, but decided to first build popularity in game centers, arcades. The team felt it was better to build a reputation and demonstrate the game's appeal in arcades before releasing it on home consoles, as they wanted to ensure it would be well received and generate buzz. This page continues the developer interview, delving into the origins and design philosophy of Mr. Driller. The interviewer asks about the initial idea of Mr. Driller being a falling game and the concept of chain reactions, questioning where these ideas originated. Mr. Nagaoka explains that rather than just a falling game, the inspiration came from childhood sandpit games, like digging in sand and the anticipation of it collapsing. The aim was to capture that analog fun and create easily understandable but challenging rules for a game. The topic shifts to the random placement of blocks, specifically the micro-random placement. Mr. Kaneko clarifies that while the block colors, X blocks, and intervals are predetermined, other aspects of the placement are random, leading to unique random patterns. He also confirms that large block formations occur purely randomly. Regarding the time attack mode, Mr. Nagaoka mentions that the block placement is fixed and uses the best courses available. However, he suggests they are open to even better approaches in the future. He then reveals that clearing 10 stages in time attack mode unlocks a hidden Euro mode, back mode. This Euro mode is created by flipping the standard courses horizontally and implementing stricter time limits, offering a more challenging experience. The interview with Mr. Driller's developers delves into character and story development. The team aimed for a girl-friendly design for the main character, Susumu, referencing the Dig Dug style, but opting for broader appeal and merchandising potential. The underground people were an original concept, finalized after suggestions. Initially, story ideas were far-fetched, like digging to the Earth's core. A final, simplified narrative explains that the blocks are the underground people's food. The underground people focus solely on creating more blocks, eating them for survival, and thus are not concerned about the surface world. The page also introduces graphics artist Shinozaki Kaori, who previously worked on Klonoa and Ribble Grande, and designed the characters and art direction for Mr. Driller. This page continues the interview, focusing on more game details. We learn about Kaneko Tomoyasu, the program, who worked on games like Wagon Paradise and Ribble Grande. The interviewers discuss level icons, explaining they are related to the background and history of the game, with deeper levels revealing more of the underground world, starting with mansions, then factories, and finally, the King's Chamber. Interestingly, the blocks are food, specifically chocolate, for the underground people. They also talk about the Driller Tournament, a feature emphasized for players with strong competitive spirits, which became an internet mode on the Dreamcast version due to its popularity within the company. The ranking in Dokodemo Driller Online mode was highly competitive, requiring a strong personality to reach number 1 daily. Moving on to Susumu's profile, it's mentioned that his age isn't fixed, but is around 15, and he's considered an elite driller. He also has a brother named Tobi Tayu, who is revealed to be the one piloting the helicopter Susumu uses in the game's ending. Finally, they reiterate that the blocks, while food for the underground people, are hard and inedible for humans, explaining why they are a problem when they appear on the surface. They are basically candy for the underground world. This page continues the interview. Moving on to sound and character design for Mr. Driller, we learn about Shina Go, the sound creator, who previously worked on games such as Hammer Champ, World Stadium X, and Ace Combat 3. He was the sound director for Mr. Driller, utilizing handmade instruments and even vocals to create the game's audio. The discussion then turns to the game's title. The name Dig Dug Attack was initially proposed, aiming to capitalize on the Dig Dug name. However, the team decided against it, feeling it sounded outdated. They wanted a fresh game center experience, aiming to attract female players and prioritizing cute character designs to appeal to them. We see early character sketches, revealing a pilot-like Mr. Driller with goggles and a beam gun, and a female character intended for 2-player mode, notable for butterfly wings. These initial designs were less cartoonish than the final versions, and the female character's wing design was considered very appealing. Shina Go, the sound designer for Mr. Driller, faced a challenge. Create music for a cute game while avoiding being overly cute. He was given creative freedom, emphasizing rhythm and tempo for the fast-paced drilling action. A waltz-like song, initially rejected, was included in the game over sequence. An arrangement of Cutie Thoris meant to comically contrast the main game's music. The interview also details the handmade instruments used. Shina Go crafted instruments, including a PVC pipe flute, in collaboration with Ishida. He combined this with computer simulations and physical sound techniques to create rich, expressive sounds, aiming to avoid sounding overly synthesized. He used software to simulate instrument techniques, such as violin bow movements, and then added musical score data to create unique soundscapes. This page is an interview with the developers of Mr. Driller, clarifying that it's more than just a simple falling block game. They delve into the game's system, explaining the intended pressure of constantly drilling downwards and the intense game over sequence. The developers, Nagano, Yoshizawa, Kaneko, and Yume, talk about how they initially aimed to make the game easily understandable for arcade players. To convey the game's mechanics effectively, they incorporated warnings to guide players, although this might have initially been a bit too much. They discuss the initial reaction where some players mistook it for a simple falling game and were surprised by the game over when their air ran out. They emphasize that Mr. Driller is different from typical falling games, and they wanted to communicate this difference clearly. Looking ahead, they mention that the atmosphere in the next installment will slightly change, and Susumu will have longer legs, with new characters appearing. In closing, they ask readers to actually play the game, to see its depth beyond appearances. They hope players will appreciate Susumu's cuteness and enjoy the game enough to recommend it to others, highlighting that each playthrough is unique and encouraging players to enjoy it for a long time. Yume even reveals that he sings the song Sagittarius in the space stage, which is a key musical piece. Finally, they conclude by thanking everyone for their time. The next page is showcasing Mr. Driller 2 with a "Coming Soon" announcement. It looks like it's an introduction to the characters appearing in this new installment. We see illustrations and descriptions of 4 characters. First up is Hori Susumu, the professional driller, who's returning with slightly longer legs. Then there's Anna Hottenmeier, a mysterious new character with blonde hair and blue eyes, sporting a visor. The description questions whether she's a friend or rival to Susumu. We also get to meet Susumu's beloved dog, Poochie, a cute little dog who will be appearing in the game. Lastly, there's a Groundian, described as familiar and unchanged in appearance, but the page wonders what kind of major incident they'll cause in this new game. It seems the focus is on these charming characters as a key element of the game, just as the developers mentioned in the interview. This page seems to be the credits and publication information for the Mr. Driller public guidebook. It lists the staff involved in creating the book, including planning and editing by a team of people like Hideki Nishiya, Tatsuya Higashi, Taro Kanemoto, Ayao Sakakibara, and Misako Miyazawa. The cover and text design are credited to Akimi Todu of At Design, and the illustrations and supervision were done by Namco. Photography is credited to Makoto Shinazaki. Moving on to the publication details, it states it was first published on July 20, 2000. The publisher is listed as Shogakukan, with their address and phone numbers for editorial and sales inquiries. The printing was done by Sanbi Printing. There's also a note saying they don't answer game-related questions over the phone, and some legal information about copyrights for Shogakukan, and trademarks for PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. The next page is the front cover of the Mr. Driller public guidebook. It clearly displays the title, Mr. Driller, with the TM symbol, along with the subtitle, Public Guidebook in Japanese. You can see the logos of Namco and Shogakukan, the publishers mentioned in the previous page. At the bottom, it reiterates the trademark information for PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy, which aligns with the legal notes from the credits page. The cover design is pink with white polka dots and features stylized Mr. Driller text. This page is the back cover of the Mr. Driller guidebook, featuring the Mr. Driller logo prominently displayed in a colorful, cartoonish style. It also includes the Namco and Shogakukan logos, again confirming the publisher and brand. There are two cute Mr. Driller character icons at the edges. Legal information is present, mentioning trademarks for PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. You can also see standard book information, such as the ISBN number, price, and barcode details.